Legal marijuana turned 6 years old on January 1st, and the industry looks nothing like it did in 2014.
A fifth of the country lives in a fully legalized state, and 3/5 of the country live in a medical state.
That was Shannon Fender with Native Roots, the largest cannabis chain in Colorado with 19 locations. Native Roots was one of 24 dispensaries to open on New Year's Day in 2014. By this December, there are 1,679 across the state and 1,412 grows.
I really think that it's allowed the country to see that this is an experiment that you should enter into and that is successful, and with serious business professionals and with regulators that respect the will of the voters, that this is something that can have a really great economic impact.
Cannabis continues to boom. The state has collected $245 million in tax revenue in 5 years from more than $6 billion in total sales. Alex Levine with Green Dragon.
This really is just the beginning. We really have barely scratched the surface of what this industry is going to look like.
Green Dragon owns 12 dispensaries across the state, a sign of the industry's biggest change, consolidation. The majority of pot stores are owned by fewer than 20 companies. In Summit, with 11 dispensaries, only Alpenglow remains locally owned.
It's become just a lot more competitive, so there are a lot of licenses that people do just want to sell. They just want to get out of the industry, and that's kind of where we've been able to step in.
On New Year's Day, when the rec industry turned 6 years old, the medical industry turned 11, but its days could be numbered.
It was a complete nightmare, and in my opinion, sort of a broken system.
That was Alex Levine talking about the difference between regulations for rec and medical marijuana. The company opened its first medical dispensary in 2009 as Greenworks and has since moved to rec only.
Because of our scale, we could provide the same products at the same price points as medical. I mean, that's really the only reason why medical has really stuck around.
Native Roots in Frisco and Silverthorne is one of the last chains serving both clientele. Spokeswoman Shannon Fender.
It's quite frankly a lot easier to just pick one or the other.
Rec dispensaries outnumber medical stores by 75 locations, and Native Roots will keep both into the future.
The patient population in the medical community they have their specific market, their specific needs, and we really want to honor that by continuing to serve them.
Organics in Breck opened as a medical dispensary in 2009 and still serves both clientele, but numbers are dwindling. General Manager Jake Fessler.
We consider our med side really just taking care of the 10 people that we have. Direction it's going, eventually it is going to die out.
Benefits of a medical card are higher possession amounts and lower prices. Downsides for dispensaries include tighter regulations. Across the nation, medical marijuana is in 23 states, available to nearly 3/5 of the U.S. population. And flower remains king, accounting for 62% of recreational sales. But General Manager Jake Fessler of Organics in Breck says concentrates like shatter and wax are gaining popularity.
Concentrates are huge now. We're developing new types of concentrates, new types of distillation, and it's bringing the price down too.
Concentrates are 28% of the cannabis market. Fessler believes they could overtake flower in coming years for regular users who like vape pens and dabbing, a rig that superheats wax.
March of this year was the first and only month in this store's history where we actually did more in concentrate revenue than flower or anything else.
So what is driving that change?
They're significantly more potent, so when it comes down to it, you don't have to use as much. And the fact that those prices are starting to come down, it's really hitting this tipping point where budget-wise, it's almost cheaper to smoke concentrates than flower.
Concentrates contain 80 to 85% THC, the drug compound in pot, compared to highs of 27 and 28% for flower.
Everyone's trying to undercut everyone, and it's slowly bringing all the prices down.
Manufacturing is a cottage industry in the larger cannabis industry. Companies like Northern Standard of Alma and Cushmasters of Boulder turn flower into compounds like live resin, the scotch of marijuana, running $40 to $80 per gram. From waxes and shatters to edibles and tinctures, the marijuana industry keeps expanding, and CEO Alex Levine keeps pinching himself.
If you asked me 3 years ago where we'd be now, I never would have believed you. If you asked me 10 years ago that I'd be working in the cannabis industry and that cannabis would even be legal, I would have laughed in your face.
What has changed since 2014? Levine and peers agree consolidation is the industry's future. Jake Fessler explains how Organics, found next door to Green Dragon, went from nearly bankrupt to turning a profit in less than a year after it was bought by Colorado Cannabis Company.
It opened the door to a lot more resources, cheaper production of products, just because now we can get them directly from our own lab, and essentially there's not a cost associated with that, so it allows us to sell it for a better price to the customers.
Then there was guerrilla marketing.
We felt like if we won Breckenridge over, if we won all the different restaurants, bartenders, Uber drivers, ski lift operators, if anybody would go and ask them, which dispensary do you shop at, and they say organics, that's all it takes, really.
Another major shift, other states and entire countries are getting into the cannabis game. Shannon Fender with Native Roots.
We're actually the first U.S. cannabis operator to acquire a license in Canada. We were given one of 4 licenses to open in Manitoba just about a year ago, and we'll be opening under the brand Garden Variety in early 2019.
Dispensary execs like Levine believe Colorado's industry set the mold for other states and could destroy the black market through simple economics.
When you're growing in your basement and we're growing in a 120,000 square foot commercial greenhouse facility, there's no way you can compete.
Black market trafficking does remain a blight in neighboring states, but Fessler at Organics believes his employees will always outshine drug dealers.
We all buy the same edibles, we pay the same prices for them, concentrates are essentially the same, flower, we all grow our different strains. The one thing that sets a business apart is really customer service.
And yet, insiders agree the industry does not print money. Taxes can equal 80 to 100% of revenue at small operations, and dispensaries still cannot operate with federal bank accounts. Levine.
No one has access to real capital. You can't get loans, mortgages. It's pretty wild that this has been able to succeed.
What keeps the industry afloat?
It's really because of customer demand.
Since the first days of medical marijuana, dispensary owners have worried the federal government will step in and put an end to the industry. But as the market matures and the tax dollars keep rolling in, everyone we interviewed agrees there is no stopping Colorado's great cannabis experiment. Phil Lindemann, Crystal, 93 News.